Thank you, Pat. Hi, everybody. I have to thank Vicki, Pat, Terry very much for setting me up because I've got a lot to say. So bear with me. I am going to be providing a little bit more detail about the structure of our program and the program framework. It's really great to be here with you this afternoon to share this. This work is exciting. This is a novel program and a novel process. Like Vicki and Pat, and I know Debbie and Terry as well, I've been a professional educator for 30 years. I've been an urban middle school science teacher. I've been a university professor. And I've been a member of 2 state education agencies, and all of that work has given me multiple viewpoints, multiple perspectives around change in education. I've been involved in a lot of change in education. I've been through middle school theory. I've been through, I can't tell you how many different science reform movements. And I can tell you honestly that I have never been involved in a change initiative that has been as energizing, inspiring, or compelling as this particular enterprise. I've had the honor of facilitating the design and development of this program since fall of 2010. As part of this highly talented UW Parkside team, I've worked with the Coordinating Council and the 9 design teams as we've worked together to generate this framework. I am very proud of the level of commitment, creativity, and focus demonstrated by all of the talented people who worked to bring this program to life. And many of you are, of course, in this room. This evening, it's my honor to present our work to you. Let me be clear. I'm not going to be describing a lot of the nitty-gritty details about the courses or experiences that we'll be offering. As Pat explained, we've just had the program framework approved on May 8th by our Faculty Senate, and we'll be collaborating with our partners to complete the development of the curriculum and integrate it into the framework over the coming months. While we've made a lot of progress since our community briefing last year, there's still some work ahead of us as we get ready to open the doors to our program in fall of 2013. What I am going to share with you are details about the framework itself. Now, let me reorganize here because the microphone is shadowing my words. I'll describe who this program was designed to serve, the dynamic process of individualized development that is at the heart of this design, and the flexible pathways to our licensure that we'll be offering. I'll also describe the clinical practice model that is the foundation of the design for developing professional educators, a design that makes this a program of and for the 21st century. So let's get started. We have been and continue to be, as you've already heard, intentional in developing a program framework that's focused on providing meaningful professional learning. It's designed to be responsive and flexible, nimble even, and we've integrated a structure that will support continued professional learning over the course of the many twists and turns of the educator's career. As we designed the program, we never lose sight of the guiding principles that the Coordinating Council challenges us to hold. We never lose sight of the characteristics of the regional 21st century learning community that we are committed to creating for southeastern Wisconsin. I feel it is important to emphasize key characteristics of this learning community. Those characteristics underline how complex the design challenge continues to be. So what is 21st century learning community? Well, that community is one in which the economic potential of the region is realized through a highly connected global network. The regional economy is driven by global needs and markets. There is a high value placed on learning, social equity, and mobility because these capacities are vital to meeting the challenges posed by a rapidly developing global society. In our region's emerging future, innovation and entrepreneurship are actively developed human capacities, and it is done primarily through our regional educational network. Citizen engagement is high, and it's fueled by the increased access to knowledge, information, and people in positions of power that is made possible by ever-advancing technologies. Technology is a disrupting, not necessarily a bad thing, but it is a disrupting influence onto traditional models and boundaries of our current educational system, as it is on so many other systems. And paradoxically, that creates two different kinds of opportunities. One for things like massive online classes taught by, say, some really, really great professor from MIT, while at the same time, you can have custom-designed, highly individualized learning experiences, sometimes even in those massive online classes. Accountability for learning is shared by the community as a whole. Government, business, citizens, and educators, because it takes the whole region to support the development of our human capacity to innovate and create. We are all in this together. So, that was not a tiny challenge. So we knew we would really need to work together as a community to create a framework for our program. One that would develop our educators to be innovators, able to meet the future challenges so eloquently described by Vicki, that we can't yet fully see or anticipate. The process that was described by Pat keeps us focused on creating a program for this future and not on recreating our mental models of teacher training from our own past experience. And we have honestly and from our hearts collectively risen to this design challenge. Well, what does that mean? It means we worked together to design a system that starts with the development of current and future educators where they are right now. We call these people candidates and place their learning and ultimately the learning of the young students and adult learners they serve at the heart of this design. As a program, we need to meet our candidates where they are and design an individualized plan for their development. That plan will be aligned with the needs of the educator and the identified needs of the region. This plan takes educators into active professional work settings, balancing the development of knowledge and understanding with the development of skills, strategies, and expertise in the actual work of education. And the plan doesn't end with the granting of the license. The framework supports continued learning and advanced professional development across the career of the educator, from the point at which he or she steps onto the path of the license until reaching a well-earned retirement from whatever place they are in the education system at age 90, maybe. Because as you can tell, we never retire. Right, John? We like to say that once you've begun educator development at UW Parkside, your learning becomes our shared responsibility, and that shared responsibility lasts for the rest of your career. So that's the big picture of what we've been up to, and now I'd like to get to some more specifics about the program. So first of all, who do we serve? We spent a lot of time on this, actually, and we recognized that we are working with three specific kinds of candidates. First, we are working with some candidates who will enter the program with little or no college experience. But they come to us knowing they definitely want to be an educator. The most common term, honestly, is I want to be an 8th grade teacher. And they're looking for a pathway for fulfilling that vocation. These students are what we call early declaration candidates, who are essentially the typical undergrad education student who knows that they want to be an educator, and whatever degree program they're enrolled in, they're completing that degree so that they can fulfill their calling to teach. Other candidates might come to us with a considerable number of college credits or even an existing undergraduate degree. We're calling this category of candidates late declaration and post-baccalaureate candidates. They're the middle bubble. These are candidates who are just realizing that they want to shift their focus to becoming educators. They may have played around with it for a little bit before they got to this point. Some of them may have actually had this as a long deferred dream, but they're deciding right now in this moment they're going to go ahead and take that step. These candidates have slightly different needs than those early declaration candidates who are just beginning their path. And the third category of candidate, and is one that not many people actually thought of as a candidate at the beginning, are people who already have a professional license or credential in education, who are already fulfilling a role in an educational system, and who are interested in entering the program so that they can earn another credential, expand their knowledge and their expertise, learn how to mentor, learn how to coach, learn how to be a support for their fellow educators. And for some of them, that path eventually leads on, like it did for many of us, to graduate school and doctoral degrees, and then you wonder, why did I do that? Depending on which of these student profiles applies, the pathway through the program will be different, and it has to be. This is one of the critical aspects that makes our program truly unique. Regardless of the student profile, all candidates need to have some shared experiences, especially in the field. And all candidates will need ongoing individualized attention from day one. This individualization is made possible through a systematic process of assessment, advising, placement, more assessment, support, more assessment, and all of that begins the moment the candidate declares his or her intention to become an educator or to seek further professional development. An educator development advising team will work with candidates to create individual development plans. Those plans lead to a license, credential, or some essential professional development that the candidate themselves is seeking. These individualized development plans are reviewed each semester, and the candidate's progress towards meeting benchmarks within his or her program pathway is assessed at critical transition points. So we work with a candidate to make sure that their development proceeds in ways that allow them to continuously be successful in gaining knowledge, in learning their practice, and beginning to apply their practice. And we provide them support so that they never go beyond what they have the capacity to succeed at. Once that initial plan is created, the candidate's pathway through the professional educator development program really begins. So that individualized plan is one of the first things that happens. It happens whenever you say, hey, I want to be a teacher. We'll get the team together, sit down, and we'll start doing this planning process. And every candidate will have clinical experiences that are designed to meet them where they are in their development as educators from day one. So let's talk a little bit more about those things. What do we mean by clinical experience? We've designed our program to provide learning in professional settings. That means these are people who are becoming prepared to become a particular kind of professional. That preparation needs to take place in settings where work is actually happening, so they can see it, so they can experience it, and so that they know what they're getting into. These professional settings are called clinical placements. In these placements, which can be the actual professional work environment of the candidate for an advanced professional development, our candidates gain experience in settings that will range from community programs, business school partnership programs, and school classrooms so that they are getting the hands-on exposure and practice in the areas that is most appropriate to their level of development in the program. For candidates who are early in their development, they may not have had many opportunities to really experience school beyond their own experience as a student. Their learning as a student in many settings can give them some idea of how complex it is, but they need other experiences as well. And so we provide preclinical experiences that are structured so that they can gain awareness of what learning looks like in our region, how the communities in the region view and understand learning, and how they as educators can begin to understand their own role in this community as an educator. Candidates examine their own dispositions for teaching and begin to develop the cultural competence and capacity to lead that only comes through experience, and that will enable them to design learning experiences that support the learning of all students in the community. As candidates develop the necessary content knowledge and understanding of human development and learning, they move into full-blown clinical experiences. These are professional work experiences where the candidate takes on a major role and responsibility, even though it is still under the guidance of a seasoned professional. These clinical experiences are aligned to specific courses in the Professional Educator Development Program. The courses and experiences together focus on how theory translates into actual teaching practice, how professional educators design different types of learning experiences, and how professionals teach specific content well, such as math, science, language arts, or music. Candidates in these experiences move from observing to actively learning from others and designing many different types of learning experiences for many different learners. Their practice in these settings is assessed, as is their developing knowledge and skill, through specific performance assessments. The capstone clinical experience is the residency, which includes the semester-long student teaching experience. And this is not your regular student teaching. In the residency, the candidate actually assumes from the very beginning the lead role in designing instruction for an entire semester in a professional setting. This experience is a demonstration of their ability to fulfill and demonstrate all of the required proficiencies of the professional educator, such as designing effective learning over long periods of time and for short periods of time, assessing student learning to make sure that the learning that you've designed is actually having the impact that you want, and differentiating instruction using culturally relevant practice. In all of this work, candidates use the instructional technology and tools that best support student learning, be it apps or interactive whiteboards or other technologies that haven't yet been developed. These clinical experiences are the foundation of the pathways that candidates will follow. These candidates lead to specific kinds of licensure, so we've been describing them in that way. There is an initial licensure pathway. There is an alternative route licensure pathway. And I'm going to actually start with the last pathway that's up there, and that's the continuous professional development pathway. Until today, I really was struggling with how to describe what this advanced professional development pathway really looks like. It's one that's already ongoing. You don't have to wait for 2013 to get involved in this pathway. UW-Parkside currently has strong and ongoing partnerships with the districts in our region, Shannon McGuire and Maricela Lacara-Wood. I don't think I can do that. Work with districts and individual educators in the region to design essential professional development experiences. This is an example of the catalog. This is the catalog for the experiences for this summer. And in this kind of catalog, you can see, and I know you can't see very well, but here, for the individual educator who wants professional development and is seeking their own path. Here, the Pearl Institute, provided by Kenosha Unified, which is a targeted professional development process that is designed to meet certain objectives for the professional development of all the teachers in the district, and not just the teachers. The Chilwaukee Academy, which most of you are already familiar with, which is a regional collaboration that brings together districts that look really at what are the professional development needs of our region right now, and how do we meet them. And finally, the Common Core Standards, this little apple here. This is a national initiative where we are all moving to Common Core Standards in English and math, and we are providing professional development for educators to understand what those Common Core Standards and how they will impact their teaching in the years to come. And then finally, we have a process by which we are actually aligning our own development of the mentors and cooperating teachers and other supporting faculty, professional faculty, through our continuing professional development program. So they'll be working with our students as they come out of their licensure program and as they go through their licensure program and come out into the field. And beginning in 2013, we'll offer an initial licensure pathway for degree-seeking students early in their development. That's the top one. And those will be candidates who declare their intention to enter education. In other words, candidates who meet that early declaration profile. They may have some college under their belts, they may not. For these students, the initial licensure pathway leads to a degree in a discipline and a license to teach at one of 3 different developmental levels. The first is called Middle Childhood, Early Adolescence. And if you want to know who those are, those kids between ages 6 to 12. Think grade school mostly, sometimes early middle school. There's early adolescence. I did not come up with these names. This is DPI, yes. Early teens to young adults. Think late middle school and early high school. And then there are early childhood adolescence programs, which is the all-age license for fields such as music education that really look towards lifelong development of a major capacity or skill. The degree-seeking pathway is one that purposefully aligns learning experiences in the major disciplines such as English or biological sciences with professional learning around how to teach content in a discipline in either the preclinical or clinical placements, and of course during the residency period. In 2014, we'll begin accepting candidates who are late declaration transfer students or post-baccalaureate candidates. In other words, candidates who already have significant college or actually professional experience in other areas. Late declaration and transfer students will most likely still need the degree, and so they will follow the degree-seeking pathway to the initial license, but they'll enter it on their own and individualized plan. Post-baccalaureate students will have pretty interesting experience, we think, because they will be basically following just the core professional educator development plan, and there are ways that we plan to modularize and really embed them in the work of the schools in ways that don't rely on the 16-week semester schedule as much as it does on their own pace of development and what the experiences that are available to them in the schools. Candidates who want to follow the alternative route to licensure might already have a license or a degree, and they really want to go into high needs areas, which currently are technology education, special education, and bilingual, bicultural education. We have developed regional partnerships with other educational institutions to create streamlined pathways in these critical areas as well. And so we begin. We are working with our partners to finalize the maps of pathways through the majors that develop critical cross-disciplinary knowledge and skill in reasoning, communication, and problem solving. We're finalizing the syllabi. We are finalizing the syllabi of the courses and modules in the professional core and the clinical experiences, creating the key assessments of learning and practice, and filling in the details of the structure of the partnerships that will provide and evaluate the developed learning and practice demonstrated in clinical settings. Our house is framed. Now we're concentrating on the finishing details that make all the difference in the quality of the living experience and environment that house will provide. So it is now my honor to introduce the Chancellor of UW Parkside, Debbie Ford,